How is it that some people would spend 2 years training pretty hard, eating seemingly well, but make close to no progress, whereas other people with the same time frame would look day and night different? Well, there's a lot of factors that go into how much progress you can truly make in a 2-year time frame. Just to list off a few: how long you've been training, how hard you train, how good your nutrition is, how consistent you are with good nutrition, how good you are at sticking to the plan, your genetics, and so much more go into how much progress you're able to make in a 2-year time frame. But in today's video, I'm going to give you the ultimate 2-year muscle growth blueprint, which I followed before I turned pro this year. And it's a setup that I'm going to be refining over the next couple of years as I enter the bulk side of bodybuilding again. So if you're someone looking to maximize your physique growth, make sure you watch this video to the very end. For those that are new here, my name is Reese Kiffin. I'm a natural men's physique pro and a physique coach for bodybuilders looking to compete, or for guys just looking to get into world-class shape. Over the past 7 years, I've helped hundreds of guys to achieve world-class transformations, and we've also had a lot of success with our natural competitors too. And final thing before we get stuck in on how to maximize your muscle growth across the next 2 years is that if you're looking for a new training program, in the first link in the description, I have a link to download my free 8-week building program. So in that program is of course a training program, but also 8 coaching videos embedded into the programs. So actually a lot of what I go through in that program is going to help you very much on your build phase. So once you finish this video, go and download that program and go and start your successful build phase. Anyhow, here's how I would utilize a 2-year time frame to maximize my physique growth. Let's get into it. So step 1, which is going to last 2 to 3 months, is to get really lean. Before we get stuck into the actual build phase, our body has to be in the most responsive position to grow new muscle tissue. So we must go through the process which I like to call wiping the slate clean, which essentially just means to drop some body fat, remove the fluff, and tidy the physique up a little bit. You basically want to get so lean that you have outlines of abs or a six-pack. You want a level of muscle definition on show as well, so some cuts in the shoulders and maybe some striations. Or if you're more advanced, I basically want you to be between 8 to 10% body fat. Because this way you'll be relatively depleted, which means any extra food or fuel you're going to be pretty responsive to. Like your energy is going to improve, your training intensity, your recovery, your hormonal balance, which is exactly where we want to be prior to starting the build phase. Okay, so step 2 of your 2-year muscle growth plan is going to last 1 month, and it's going to be the reverse diet phase. The reverse dieting phase is literally just what it says on the tin. This is the part of the process where we come out of the deficit into maintenance and then eventually up into a surplus. The idea here is to retain as much condition or leanness as possible whilst driving calories up pretty dramatically. And it's through the reverse dieting period where you should be able to start progressing your lifts a bit more, training a bit harder, pushing yourself that little bit further, and then generally speaking you should see the performance progressions across the board in the gym. And as long as you do that, it means you're going to be stimulating some more muscle growth because your recovery is also going to be improved as well due to the extra calories that you're consuming. Step 3, this is where it gets a little bit more exciting. This is going to last 6 to 10 months and it's going to be phase 1 of the build phase. So the build phase begins once the reverse diet has been completed successfully and you have reversed all the way out to the point where you are now in calorie surplus territory. How far you take the bulk is dependent on how far you're comfortable to take it. Do you want to keep a 6-pack year round, or do you not mind getting a little bit fluffy and uncomfortable? Because for the maximal gains possible, I would suggest getting to the point where you do get a bit fluffy and you do get a little bit uncomfortable. And I know it's not nice to see, but eventually we do want to see some of that midsection fading. We want to see some of those cuts and striations that you had fading as well. Dare I say it, we want to get you a little bit round in the face. However, you want to stay as lean as possible for as long as possible, within reason, whilst progressively building your calories up and improving your training performance. Because as long as your calories are on the up and your body weight is steadily climbing and your training performance is improving, you're going to grow. But naturally, what just comes along with that is that you are going to put on a bit of body fat as well. So just be prepared for that. Now, a good rule of thumb for a build phase is to gain approximately 1% of body weight per month. So if you're an 80 kilogram man, you want to gain approximately 0.8 kgs per month. Obviously, as your weight increases, the amount you gain per month would also increase, right? But this is the thing, you're going to hear 0.8 kg on an 80 kg man every single month. That's fuck all weight, that's no weight. But tell me this, right? If you're gaining 2 kg per month every single month for 6 to 10 months straight, you've gained 12 to 20 kilograms. In 6 to 10 months, how much of that do you think is going to be muscle mass? Because in reality, all you've done there is you've gained weight and you've got fat. You've not necessarily built any extra muscle compared to the guy that's actually gained a bit more steadily and has retained a leaner physique. And the trick is, this guy has retained a leaner physique, which means he can bulk for a longer period of time. If you're someone who tends to overeat and gain weight too quickly, your bulk has to end a bit faster, right? Because you've got too fat, you have to tidy things up again. So actually, it's having that slightly more patient approach and that longer term vision, you're going to have more success on your build phase. So that's one reason, but there's also another reason as to why a lot of guys don't have success on their muscle building phases, and it's just because they're not psychologically prepared for how they're going to look compared to when they were lean. So this is something you need to do. You need to set the expectations for yourself that you're not going to be as aesthetic. You're going to be a little bit fluffy. Your shirts are going to get tighter in certain areas that maybe you don't want them to get tighter in. And actually, when you take off your shirt, you're not going to be as impressed with what you see in the mirror. But that is part of the building process, and that's part of the process you have to go through to then become even happier with what you see in the mirror. So a great way to look at your building phases is much like renovating a building, right? So you have a building, your physique, and then you realize this needs work. You need to put some improvement into this. So you put the scaffolding up, aka you put on some body fat. You do the work you need to do, the training, the nutrition, the sleep, the routines. You put in all of the work, then after the dedicated time period, the scaffolding comes down. Okay, the body fat comes down. You go through your next cut phase, and then you basically are able to unveil all of the hard work that you've put in. You can show off this freshly renovated building or this new physique that you're bringing to the stage or to the beach. So step 3B is that you need a new training program. I always suggest, if you can, trying to tie in getting a new training program with when you start a build phase, because it allows you to go through the process of resetting your training, and then you've got such a long window then of time to be able to progress and build upon these lifts that you've just reset. I actually talk about how to reset your training and what that actually means in my free 8-week building program. So I would recommend to go and download that and watch that video if you're just going to watch one. But what this does, it basically allows you to set yourself a new baseline for training, but actually focusing on the other things that are going to be super important to you building as much muscle as possible. So focusing on your mind-to-muscle connection, your tempos, the control of the weight, not ego lifting. So you reset your training by pulling the weights back ever so slightly, and then you've got a 4 to 5 month period of just being able to progress lifts all the way through, but still implementing better control, better mind-to-muscle connection, etc. So yeah, get yourself a new training program, stick to the same training program for 4 to 5 months, and then refresh it. Okay, so step 4 is going to last 2 to 4 weeks, which is going to be a tidy up phase. So after 6 to 10 months worth of bulking, you've probably put on a little bit of size, a little bit of timber, and you might have actually gotten to the point where shoveling all of these calories in day after day consistently is getting quite tough. But this is good because it means you're pushing your body, you're getting a little bit uncomfortable, which is what's required for maximal muscle growth. Now within this tidy up phase, you're going to pull your calories down, enter a very slight calorie deficit, which is going to allow you to drop some water weight, drop some body fat, and essentially resensitize yourself to food again. Because again, when you've been building for that long and you've been shoveling in all that food, it can get quite hard to continue eating all of that food over and over and over again, day after day. So a little tidy up phase obviously is beneficial for your physique, just to drop some body fat and tighten up, but it's also going to allow you to actually eat more in the oncoming months. However, something to consider is that if you've bulked up to this point and you're still feeling good, you're still feeling energetic, you're still up for your training sessions, you're still progressing in the gym, your body's not feeling too tired, then you could probably continue pushing this build phase for another 1 to 2 months. And then you can do this tidy up process. Step 5 is going to last another 6 to 10 months and you're back to building again. So this is what I would call the final stint of building before your next event, holiday, photo shoot, show day, whatever it might be. Maybe it's just the summer beach classic. Now the main focuses of this build phase are of course going to remain to be the quality of your nutrition and the consistency of your nutrition, but I now also want you to put a massive focus on your training performance. And obviously you have to do this in the other build phase too, but stress it even more so now. Are you progressing lifts every week or two? Do you feel more in control of the weights which once you struggled with? Are you able to push yourself further in the gym? Can you take those sets further? And are you actually able to stay focused within your workouts? Like, can you stay in the zone? Can you stay locked in? And can you channel that energy and that focus into your sets and make sure you are progressing every single week or every other week? Because that is going to be the thing that drives muscle growth for you right now. Because as we know, your training performance is obviously going to have a direct correlation with the amount of muscle that you're going to build. So you can't slack off and lose focus now. You have to stay intentional and you have to stay focused within your sessions, understanding what the goal and the outcome of every single session is, which is to grow as much muscle as possible. So you have to send those signals to your muscles, to your body, let them know that we're trying to grow muscle right now. Because not doing so will not maximize your gains. And a great thing to remember is that each day you only have a 1 to 2 hour block every single day that you can go in and build muscle. So use that time wisely. Get in the zone, focus on what the goal of this session is, and fucking smash it. Step number 6, which is going to last 2 to 4 months, which is removing the scaffolding, pulling the body fat down. You have just spent 18 to 24 months of growing, dedicated to building your physique, adding size, building the shape. So I think it's time to pull off some body fat and unveil the hard work you've been putting in. This can be scary and there's going to be questions popping into your mind, such as, have I even grown any muscle? Have I just wasted 2 years? What if I've made literally zero progress? Now these are all questions and concerns that I had prior to competing this year. I was second guessing myself. I was second guessing the work that I'd put in until I saw those stage shots and I realised, damn, I've made some insane progress here. And honestly, I get it. I know 2 years sounds like a long time. I started my build phase when I was 24, and then I stepped on stage again when I was 26. That's crazy. However, spending 2 years growing, as long as you're doing it properly and you're dedicating yourself to the process, it's not actually that long. It's just a realistic time frame if you want to have success in natural bodybuilding. Because if I'm being honest, the progress you're going to make across a 2-year period is probably what you're expecting to make in a 6-month period. So whether you're bodybuilding to get on stage or not, if you want to make changes that are going to last, and you want to see your physique progress to the level you want it to, then you have to spend a good chunk of time building, sitting in a calorie surplus, getting a little bit fluffy, lifting weights that you probably never thought you would have lifted. You just have to dedicate the time to growing muscle because it is probably the slowest process you can take your body through. Literally the slowest process you can do. Fat loss is quick, other processes are quite quick, but muscle growth, it takes a lot of time, particularly doing it naturally. So embrace the grind and spend that time you need to build the physique that you want to achieve. Put it this way, I spent 18 months in my last off season and it enabled me to turn pro naturally in 2025. Before we go, if you want to find out more about how my one-to-one coaching can and will help you to achieve your ultimate physique, ultimate aesthetics, then head to the second link in the description and fill in my one-to-one coaching application and I'll be in touch to hop on a call with you where we can discuss your goals and how the coaching process works. And if you haven't already but you're interested in seeing what habits I think helped me turn pro in 2025, then click this video wherever it is and drop a subscribe as well. Lots of love. Goodbye.